5 successive wins, isn't it now, in this series? You've won the championship twice. Is that streak, is it becoming any kind of burden at all that I need to keep doing this?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, this is definitely by far the best run I've ever had in my career. So I'm fully expecting it to end at some point, someone to fully kick me off that. But yeah, at the moment it's great. I think to have this kind of consistency in a sport like motorsport's quite hard. There's a lot of variables, a lot of things can go wrong. So yeah, I mean, I'm fully expecting it not to be that easy. But with Silverstone coming up, that's the one I do really want to win. So I like to keep it for at least another race.
Yeah. That was the big one missing last year. Would that be right to say?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was a great race, great weekend to be a part of. First sort of ever Formula One Grand Prix British home crowd, I guess, that I'd experienced. But at the same time, I didn't get the result I wanted. So this year coming back, it really would like to get that top step.
Because it's likely to be your last year in the W Series, and great rivalry with Alice Powell. Abby's coming in there as well now, so it's good. There's a lot of time. We talked about you maybe not going to be in the series this year and maybe wanted to go to F3. It strikes me the difference now is you were pushing to get into F3 last year. Do you sense there's a clamour for you to be in F3 or even F2 next year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting that kind of a sort of opinion or feeling from a lot of people that, they are desperate to see women succeed in the sport and the opportunities, arise as a result. And yeah, whilst it's not been there in the past, it's now really seeming a lot more positive. So it's exciting. It's great to be a part of this kind of, I don't want to say movement, but kind of new phase. Like I said, I wouldn't even be racing without the W Series. So it's still exciting for me to have this opportunity year on, year out to be able to compete in a championship like W Series. But ultimately, yeah, my ambition is to progress, and I'd love to be on the Formula 2 or Formula 3 grid next year.
So, anything concrete yet? Anything nearly done?
Not yet. There's still a bit of a way to go, but I think it's nice this year we're starting the conversations obviously earlier. Last year, we got to October, it was already very late in the day by the time we could, get anything in place, and there's a lot of factors, but I feel much more positive about it this year, and still the focus is performance this year, getting the results I need in W Series, but yeah, ultimately looking ahead as well.
Mate, you're with Jenna Racing, Caitlin's team, big personality, great, sports person in her own right as well. How much have you enjoyed that, and almost have you needed that to give you something a little bit different this year?
It's really cool. I mean, I don't think my career has been particularly conventional, so I guess joining Jenna, which is not the most conventional race team we've ever been a part of, it's great as well. But I've got the utmost respect for Caitlin, everything she's done in her career and achieved. I'm hugely inspired by. She's a great character, very good mentor. She's always got very good advice. So it's exciting to have that as a team boss, I guess. And yeah, hopefully, that kind of paves the way going forwards as well.
Amongst other things, and I will ask you this, she's probably the most famous transgender woman in the world. There's been a big current debate on transgender women, should they be able to compete against those biologically born women. Caitlin thinks that swimming have taken the right decisions, cycling as well. I think you agree with her, I believe in that. And maybe is it coming from a sport where marginal gains, marginal differences can make such a difference at the top of the competitive level that you think, if there is what could be a built-in unfair advantage, there isn't a level playing field.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does need to be on a sort of sport case-by-case basis. Every sport's different. Some sports more physical than others. Something like running, cycling, swimming. There are differences if you just look at the times. There are differences between men and women, and I think my opinion is actually, though she's come under fire for it, no one's better placed to speak about it than Caitlin. She's competed at the highest level as a man, has transitioned, and she knows the whole process in that sense. So she's very well placed to speak on that, and I do agree with a lot of her opinions on it. I think from my side, especially with something like motorsport, which is a sport that we want to see men and women compete equally. I believe that some sports are different, but those physical sports, I think we need to protect women's sport and give the women the best opportunity to succeed.
That's the fascinating aspect to where you are right now. And you, unusually amongst female racing drivers I've spoken to, you have spoken about maybe feeling at times physically disadvantaged, and it maybe being easier at the very highest level in Formula One than it is for some of the feeder series. Could some of these other categories do more, do you think, the way they build their cars to help women coming through?
Potentially, it's something I want to explore more. I think the whole excuse for women not being, at the high level of the sport or at the highest level of the sport so far has been because the talent pool's too small. But in my opinion, there are more factors to it, and understanding that, every racing car is actually built around the average size male driver, which shouldn't be, too far away, but is, when, like you said, marginal gains, you're looking at the tiny differences, is a factor. And I've struggled physically a lot in quite a few categories. I've got stronger, I've been able to overcome it, but, I want to understand, how strong do women have to get to compete equally at Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 1 level? Is it, possible to get that strong? How do you do it? Understand it better, because at the moment it feels like, I just get thrown into it and, okay, do your best in the gym, get strong enough and that be that. And it's a factor for male drivers as well. It's underestimated, the physical side of it, but I just want to understand it more before, throwing myself in an environment that, I might struggle in.
Fascinating. Very honest, actually, for you to talk about it like that. I want to talk a bit about George. What a great season. I mean, you've been consistently winning. He's been really consistent too. How much kind of texts have flown between the two of you? Have you been able to meet up at all? And you want to win at Silverstone. Do you think he has a chance to win as well?
We've got something planned on Sunday night, so if he does win, it's going to be a big celebration. Yeah, I mean, George, I just want to see him do well as a friend more than anything else.
George Russell, I should say, in case anyone doesn't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy and I think deserves to be in the position he's in and doing as well as he's doing. So it's just cool to see him in that position. I knew him when he was a lot younger, before he was in Formula 1, so now to see him teammates with Lewis Hamilton is pretty surreal. But yeah, it's great to see, and hopefully he can have a good weekend at Silverstone as well.
Yeah, it's great to be able to interact with the fans. They were back last year, but you couldn't really get in amongst them, so that'll be different this year.
Yeah, that's something that I've not actually experienced, because obviously last year, although we saw the fans, we didn't actually, like you said, have the interaction. So it's going to be cool to have that, but obviously with a home crowd, I think just soak it up as much as possible. And I hope to have many more experiences like this, but if not, it's amazing to have this, being part of W Series and have that home support.
Okay, so within 3 years, maybe still racing against George in F1?
That's the aim, yeah, ultimately. 3 years is kind of the sort of rough time frame, for Formula 1. There's a lot to achieve in those 3 years, but yeah, that's the aim.